everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. Thank you for your patience during our small winter break hiatus, because the holidays are a very busy season for all of us, and I just had no time to record a podcast. Isn't that right, Troy?
So what is this thing? What do we do on this? What's happening?
You made me do a thing, and I'm never going to forgive you for
That's
it.
true, I did.
And we'll talk about it just after this. That's the wrong button. I forgot which button it was. Oh boy!
There's gonna be a little bit of rust. This one's.
Nah, we coming out the gate swinging.
It's been a little bit of time.
We're doing great, kid. We're doing great. We're doing so good. Troy, what the fuck did you make me watch?
So we watched Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire.
I think it's A Child of Fire Part 1.
It could be. It's either way.
I literally don't know, and I don't care.
It's a first part, and it's a subtitle. I don't know the order of them. It could be Child on Fire. I'm not sure.
You're right. It's Part 1, A Child of Fire.
A Fire of Fire. Gotcha.
A Child of Fire.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a 2023 American epic space opera film directed by Zack Snyder from a screenplay he co-wrote with Kurt Johnstad and Shay Hatton.
The story goes that it was a rated R Star Wars pitch given to Disney, and Disney continuously turned him down. And then
I wonder why.
And then he went to Netflix, and Netflix said, hey, you can do your Star Wars here. You just need to make it not Star Wars. And here's a blank check to do whatever you want. And then we got Rebel Moon, and we will be getting Rebel Moon Part 2, and maybe Rebel Moon until Netflix collapses as a entire streaming platform.
So, yeah, we got Part 2 coming at us on April 19th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
very soon.
I couldn't be.
Well,
let's not give away all of it. Let's not give away of it.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. It's a big fucking thumbs down from me. Troy, what's it for you?
This is one of the biggest thumbs downs we've had on this podcast. And I don't we have a history of starting every single one of these podcasts with, we don't hate Zack Snyder, but we have never talked about a good Zack thing.
Because 300 came out 20 years ago.
Is that?
And Man of Steel came out like 15 years ago.
Man of Steel was exactly 10 years ago now, I believe.
But I can't remember a Zack Snyder thing I watched since then that I've actually super enjoyed. And
he starts with Dawn of the Dead, was jumpstarted his career. That was 2004.
Yeah, that was also great. Army of the Dead, not so much.
Army of the Dead, not. But Army of the Dead at least had scenes where you're like, okay, this is fun.
Army of the Dead had potential, but it fell by the wayside. Mm-hmm. And then they just didn't do anything with a lot of the pieces they were given. It was a really good concept, and they had a good foundation. They just didn't flesh it out the way they should have. And I don't know how much of that is due to some production things that got halted because a member of the cast got caught up in some allegations. They had to get recast.
But incredible work that they did to, like, they basically CGI'd a whole new person into that scene.
And Tig Notaro did a fine job. That movie, we're not here to talk about Army of the Dead.
But it is important for context because it's Netflix giving Zack a cinematic universe for Netflix that had a movie and then a prequel, and then I don't know anybody who watched the prequel, and then they stopped making them.
Was it a watch prequel, or I thought it was a comic?
No, they made a prequel. They made one about the lockpick guy, the Swedish lockpick guy.
Oh,
German or something like. But you know, you're talking about the blonde guy.
No, I thought you meant for Rebel Moon, because there's a prequel to that.
Rebel Moon only has the one movie.
Yeah, but there was a comic that came out for it, I believe. That's like an expansion of the universe.
They want to do comic books and TV shows and
they want this to be their Star Wars. They want this to be a giant cinematic universe that rivals the likes of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. That was the big sell behind it.
I mean, not for nothing, but like this was about as good as the 3 movies that Disney made me watch.
Oh, come on! That's
No, that's I'm just saying, man. You wanted it to be like the fucking Star Wars. You're kind of there. The problem is you went with modern Star Wars and not the good ones.
I would go as far as to say that Rise of Skywalker's better than
Oh
this.
my God, we're getting an R-rated extended cut of this movie.
So I was gonna try to get into it. You haven't mentioned it the whole like week leading up to us doing this podcast. He got basically a blank check to do whatever he wants in this movie, and then still made a PG-13 version of it to then do a director's cut of it later.
Why?
And on a platform
Why?
where they have fucking Squid Game. Nobody told him that he had to make it this way.
On a streaming platform where you can do whatever you want, you're not held to the same standards as the Motion Picture Association of America.
So your wife had an excellent take on this on
She
the
did?
couch, like literally like an hour ago.
Oh, before I got home?
Yeah.
Sidebar, Troy was here banging my wife before I got home.
That's not true, but
That's not true.
not-
No,
that's not-
Troy just got home before I did.
So she said that she only got the last like 30 minutes of Rebel Moon.
Yeah, she came
And-
in the room like while the betrayal was happening at the end, and I convinced her to sit down with me and just to watch it, and she could not have given less of a fuck. But what did she tell you?
She said that after I was mentioning that there's going to be a director's cut of this that's supposed to be rated R and like 3 hours long, she was like, this movie is the equivalent of a video game developer putting out an unfinished game to market, and then people playing about it and people playing and complaining about it, and then putting in DLC and patch notes that then make it playable afterwards. And I'm like, that's 100% correct.
That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely the best comparison you could have made. This and this movie comes in at 2:15 with credits, and it
not his longest one, but not short.
Not short by any means. It's here's the thing. Oppenheimer was almost 3 hours, if memory serves.
Oppenheimer, I think, was exactly 3 hours.
It was it was a good long movie.
I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, which is 3:30.
Yeah, and we also watched The Batman, which say what you will about it
Sure.
if you didn't like it, but I personally did.
I thought it was fine.
It came in at 2:58. The point is, those movies are long. They're 3 hours ish. It didn't feel like it necessarily, and even though for Oppenheimer especially, like it was 3 hours long, but it didn't overstay its welcome. It was exactly as long as it needed to be, and it was good. Rebel Moon is 2 hours 15, and I was so ready for it to be over an hour in. I thought we were already approaching the climax, and we weren't. And I was ready. It absolutely overstayed its welcome, and I can't quite nail exactly why, but the story did not captivate me. It was like the most generic cookie cutter sci-fi stuff from different movies throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s that got pieced together like a patchwork quilt of a movie, and it doesn't work together. There are so many little pieces that you didn't need to include to try to make this a bigger, more complex picture, and I don't like it. I do not like it. This is
so
the
I think
worst parts of sci-fi.
I think you're 100% correct with that. The worst part of sci-fi thing, I'm going to change the thing I was going to say into this.
I said something that made you change an answer?
I was going to say something completely different. It's gone now. No, sci-fi is sort of like a thing of like, sci-fi sort of seems like a fun sort of backdrop that you put like sort of philosophical questions and like and like metaphors and stuff like that into, and there's like no themes or allegories to anything. This movie truly is like, it's pretty fucking themeless. Like there's not a whole lot of meat. It's just, what if there was a sci-fi war?
That's literally all. It felt like you wanted there to be a rebellion and an empire, and all you put the absolute minimum number of pieces required to fill out those like like a checklist. Like you need this, this, and this for an empire. You need a man with a chiseled jaw and a Nazi hat. Check. You need a big scary ship that can destroy a lot of little things quickly. Check. And you need a big mother planet with an army of brainwashed people that all agree with you. Check. Boom. Done. There's your mother world. Rebellion. You need farmers or some other down on their luck kind of breed of humanity.
This movie is Seven Samurai, but then they don't do a big battle in the village at the end yet.
Yeah.
Which is going to be part 2 probably.
That's definitely going to be part 2. And I think my biggest complaint with this was just, if you're going to have sci-fi, embrace it a little. Or don't take yourself seriously. Star Wars embraces it just enough to make what they want happen, but not enough to make it a serious sci-fi film. It's more like you said. It's a background for the fantasy that's happening in front of us.
Sure. But even Star Wars, even what I would consider bad Star Wars movies, at least sort of have like a theme and sort of like each trilogy is sort of a different kind of moment in like American politics. Of like sort of you have sort of like a Vietnam War. George Lucas specifically said that the first 3 movies is like the Vietnam War mixed with Nazi stuff. He has sort of he says that the prequels is sort of like a George Bush era, and then these are George Lucas quotes. And then
yeah, but he said a lot of things.
Well, sure,
stupid.
George Lucas he's George Lucas.
Yeah.
But then the sequel trilogy is sort of like kind of like a rise in neo-Nazi sort of thought in America kind of stuff. Like they all have sort of what if there was a thing, and then they all have little sub themes in between all of them.
Sure.
And even the ones I don't like, I'm like, this has something in it, and it's trying to do a thing. This is like, truly, Zach is like, what if there were space Nazis and they were bad? And they aren't even space Nazis. Like, stormtroopers are unsubtly space Nazis.
Yeah.
And
they're literally called stormtroopers.
Yeah.
That's what the German infantry was called in the 1940s.
They're not subtle. These are Nazis in space. Ed Skrein is a Nazi in space.
Yeah.
He's wearing an actual Nazi uniform. Like, it's more subtle in fucking Starship Troopers.
You're absolutely correct about that. And honestly, I made like a little list of notes on my phone while I was watching this, which normally I don't do. But this movie really propelled me to make notes. And my third one are just bad guys are literally Nazis, no subtlety at all. And I'm like, yeah, so, I mean, you gotta disguise it a little bit. Like, even George was overt with some of it, but it was still hidden enough that you could pretend you were in a different universe. Mm-hmm. They were called stormtroopers, yeah. They were still wearing white armor and faceless helmets. Great. Darth Vader's helmet flared out at the base the way that the Nazi officers did. Cool. He was still an all-black dude wearing a cape and a red laser sword. Like, you gotta put your own creativity in there somewhere. And I felt like this movie had a lot of good ideas at first, but nobody around to really hone them and sharpen them up into a well-thought-out script or film. And I just... let's get into some more nitpicky things. First of all, the first bit of the movie is just Sir Anthony Hopkins exposition dumping on me.
Sure.
I couldn't focus on it. I didn't care about any of it. And it was so fucking hard to focus on it. I love Sir Anthony Hopkins. Love him to death. He's not the problem here. The problem is...
He's arguably the best character in the movie.
The problem is you're literally trying to do the Star Wars title scroll, excuse me, and you're failing miserably. Because you're putting in way too much, and you're doing way too much heavy lifting with all of this speaking, when you could have shown me some of this and maybe done a better movie.
I also thought it was very odd that Zach's, like, version of an evil empire that rules the galaxy was like, yeah, there's been this empire, and it's basically ruled over the galaxy for, like, century and centuries, and there's always been kings, and we've always kind of liked the kings. Actually, we all think monarchies in this space monarchy pretty fucking dope. We all liked it. And then eventually the king and queen and princess that we liked the most that ruled over all of us serfs died, and then they became Nazis. And I'm just like, everybody's really kind of just fucking riding for the monarchy in this movie.
Yeah, what the fuck? Was this movie co-founded by, like, King Charles? Like, what the fuck, dude?
Like, it was a really weird choice to be like, there was this empire, and we loved it until it became evil. And I'm just like, there's not a whole lot of not evil empires historically.
Yeah, and it's like they conquered their planet devoid of resources, so they just started spreading out. And most people were pretty cool with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was probably no ethical implications of any of that that could have been explored.
Don't draw any parallels between this and the real world Britain. Speaking of that opening scene, second complaint off the bat, while Sir Anthony Hopkins is trying to explain all of this to me, a giant hole in space opens that looks just like a vagina, and this dreadnought ship that just looks like a big black dick just comes out of this hole. And I was like, that's some weird imagery. You could have gone with, like, a circle portal or something a little less vagina-shaped, or maybe made your ship less dick-shaped.
I don't know, maybe you just don't get it.
And then 10 minutes into the film, when they're in the farmer town, they talk about how the greatest tribute to the gods is sex, and have lots of sex.
Horny movie, yeah.
This movie gets weirdly horny really quickly, and then after the attempted rape scene, it never comes up again. Nobody gives a shit about sex ever again for the rest of the hour and a half.
Well, there is the one guy in the bar that grabs the guy by the junk and asks if he's for sale, which is weird because that's sort of a sexual assault scene played for laughs moments after the inciting incident of the movie, which is...
Speaking of, I'm glad you brought that up. Another note I have. That guy who grabs his junk, it literally looks like Harvey Weinstein. It looks like they just CGI'd Harvey Weinstein, but made him a little less recognizable so that they could maybe get away under parody laws.
Honestly, less creepy. I'd take the guy in the bar.
It was so fucking bizarre. And then after all that goes down, and she's like, all right, I guess we have to go to this other planet. And he's like, oh, so we need a ship, right?
Oh, my God.
And she's like, now you're catching on. And I'm like, no, that was a 6-year-old could have caught on. Why are you impressed by that?
You're underselling this scene. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
It's so bad.
The scene is they're talking to, like, this alien brain thing. And
which was cool.
Sure.
I love the little blue brain on tentacle legs, and it's talking to her, but it's using a body that it's like controlling to the side.
And it's in sort of a you can tell the bar is all scummy, and nobody really cares that this dead guy is just sitting there because like, well, the brain's using it.
Yeah,
like there's things that could have been cool.
I've been in worse bars in Philly. Don't worry about it. Don't go to Kensington.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I was in a bar called the Ronhurst on Frankfurt and Ron one time, and I went to the bathroom, and a guy opened the stall behind me, and he was like, hey, man, you want a bump? And I turn around, and he's got lines of Coke lined up on the back of the toilet. And I said, nah, I'm good, man, but you do your drugs. You have fun. And he was like, all right, more for me. And that was that. As I left that bar, all the urinals were full, so there was a guy peeing into the sink.
Oh, nice.
Just using the sink as a spare urinal. It was,
but was he attached to a big brain spider?
Oh, you know what? He might have been. I didn't look. It was all the cocaine that I was
also
doing.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that and also, yeah, you don't want to look.
That bar got shut down during COVID for selling alcohol when the city told them to stop, and they sold it to a friend of the owners who reopened it and started selling liquor again during lockdown, so the state closed it again, and then they reopened again as under a different friend of the original owners. I hate that fucking bar. It sucks. Don't ever go.
No,
anyway.
But my favorite dialogue in the entire movie,
sorry.
And maybe some of my favorite Zack Snyder dialogue in any movie he's ever written, is they're talking to the alien brain thing, and they're like, the one you seek is on Pollux. And then they go, so we have to go to Pollux. And then he's like, so that's your plan? Go to Pollux? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I guess we need a ship to Pollux. I'm just like, stop saying Pollux. Stop it. Stop. Shut the fuck up. I don't, that line meant nothing.
And then they get their ship and they don't go to Pollux. They go to some other place. And they fucking have some weird, gross man with a giant hunky dude as a slave working off a debt. And it's like, yeah, if he can tame that wild hippogriff, I'll let him go for free. And it's like, okay, so you just unchained him and put him on a big flying thing and let him go. And you just, you want him to come back? You really trust him to come back? What if he doesn't?
Well, it's okay because we got a very slow motion flight scene, and he did fly them.
We got that scene from Disney's Spirit where the Native Americans were taming the horses and having their. You remember Spirit, that weird movie with
I've
the horses?
never seen Spirit, so
No, I haven't either. But my friend Michaela, who was watching with us, she has, and she's like, "Yo, this is fucking Spirit." So I looked it up on YouTube, and she's absolutely right. It's literally just like the Native Americans.
I mean,
going and
everybody
talking to
else,
the horses and taming them.
Everybody else has been calling this the Avatar Banshee riding scene.
I mean, it's pretty close to that too. It's just, and that's the thing. It's a ripoff of other better movies. Not to speak too highly of Spirit.
And I genuinely, I looked up online to see people who were giving this positive reviews. There are people who that's genuinely like a plus for. Is they're just like, this is sort of like the other thing that I like, so I like it.
I saw a review. Swear to God, I'll try to find it word for word later. But it said that Rebel Moon is generic and it's on purpose because it takes so much influence from previous movies, and you're supposed to know, like, oh, well, this is from that other movie, and that makes this movie good. No, that's not how it works.
That's so interesting that's like sort of my capstone for 2024 or 2023. I mean, because it was like one of the last movies, if not the last movie I saw in 2023. Because 2023 was like a year where we kind of got we hit a point in the culture in 2023, I feel like, where a bunch of really, really good movies came out, and other than Spider-Verse and Guardians, like, no superhero movies made any money, and big franchise stuff kind of fell by the wayside, and Indiana Jones had a movie and nobody saw it. But then, like, people went to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer, and like Barbie is like a franchise technically, but not one that's like it will become one, but it's not really one in the same way yet. I just watched Poor Things, which genuinely I think my favorite movie of 2023. Very, very fucking weird, very strange movie. But it's like this whole. I think people have hit a point where they're like, I kind of want to go to the movie theaters to like see somebody's like independent vision and kind of see what this person wanted to make artistically.
Yeah,
I don't really want to see Blue Beetle.
I gotta interject here real quick. I tried to find the review I was thinking of because I popped up on my Google feed a few days ago. I can't find it, and on trying to find it, I found instead this other review that opens, Rebel Moon's mostly negative reviews have, if anything, been too kind. It is the dullest and most generic movie I've seen in years, and I'm 60. Okay, well, thank you for that, Mr. Phillip.
So do you give it 5 stars?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I have been telling people my way of telling people how much I like this movie is to look up the Rotten Tomatoes score and don't tell me what it is and just understand that it should be lower than it is.
Oh my God.
I think right now it's at 23.
Yep. I don't understand why people are defending a movie for being generic and just stealing things from other movies.
So another thing, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Maybe the movie that we've talked more about than any other movie on this entire podcast at nauseum, is your hatred for Rogue One.
Yeah, and I hate Rogue One.
And I really like Rogue One.
I'll tell you this, I like Rogue One more after watching this.
I genuinely was watching this, and I remembered all your complaints of Rogue One. I was like, oh, so this is how Jeff felt. Like, this is how Jeff feels about Rogue One.
Yeah, this is exactly how I feel about Rogue One. They introduced me to too many characters that I was supposed to care about and didn't, because they hadn't done anything to make me care about them. The only exception being Cora, because like she went and just axe murdered a bunch of soldier Nazis for like trying to rape a woman, which. That was PG-13?
It was very weird.
What does your R-rated cut look like? Do I even want to see it? I don't know. Oh my God. Fucking crazy.
I have an answer. I don't want to see it, but that's not why.
No. I just this movie did so much dialogue and exposition dumping on me that I never asked for, and that is the biggest drawback I have with the prequels.
But at the same time, it's also weirdly not enough, because I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
I have no idea what's going on, even though you're spending half of the screen time explaining to me what's going on. That that shouldn't. That's just bad storytelling. It's super bad storytelling. Like after the dude tames the hippogriff and he joins them.
I know where you're going with this. You called me immediately after this happened.
I did.
Just told me about this.
It's like, all right, cool. Now let's go find the rebels. Oh, nope. We're on this weird city-like planet. That's weird. Oh, where? I guess this is the bad guys? Nope. This is the good guys. We're still watching them. They're in an elevator with a weird Asian lady wearing a hat. Okay. What's her name? Where did she come from? Did they tell us this was happening? I rewound the movie to find out. No, they didn't. Didn't tell me this was happening. They just went to another planet.
They're recruiting her now. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. They didn't tell me that.
No,
they didn't tell me they were
but
going
you see,
anywhere.
the good guys were recruiting other good guys, and they're on the planet with her, so they were recruiting her.
I feel like that maybe should have been communicated with the audience a little better.
I don't know.
Maybe like telling us, oh, we need to go get some more people, or showing us something. It's so abrupt. It's like, oh, we got this guy, and they head back to the ship with the worst death scene I've ever seen in a major motion picture of the big fat guy getting stabbed with the hippogriff claws.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the spider lady.
No.
The spider lady's also fucking dumb.
It's super dumb. Super fucking dumb. You've got 8+ legs, lady, and this Asian lady's got 2 lightsabers that aren't lightsabers.
So for people who haven't seen it or don't remember or blocked it out of their memory or whatever.
Yeah, if you were lucky enough to just black this out entirely and get the 2 hours of your life back.
So this woman who is one of the characters who I actually know the name of, her name is Nemesis. She has 2 fake red lightsabers. And she's fighting this big spider woman who has this whole backstory about how the planet is polluted now and her babies are dying or whatever, which is a 1-second thing. And then she...
Super throwaway. There was no need for it at all. It was just to make us sympathize, I guess, with the spider lady, even though we're about to murder her and she's never going to get that fleshed out.
So they fight each other, and then it ends with the spider lady grabbing... Her name is Nemesis, I want to remind you.
Yeah,
by
Nemesis.
The neck, and picks her up, and she has her 2 lightsabers in both of her hands, and her arms are unrestricted and unrestrained.
For some reason.
And she's holding her, and they give each other a stare in the eyes, not ever panning down to the swords that are also still unrestrained in her hands
and glowing red, very hard to miss.
Yeah, and then there's like a moment where you think that she's in danger, even though you as the audience know that she has 2 unrestrained lightsaber swords in her hands. And
did they ever name what those things are?
No.
So they're just lightsabers. For all intents and purposes, as far as we're discussing them.
Well, Jeff, you don't want me. You don't cut me off before I say this thing, or nobody will understand what happens next. She stabs her with them.
Oh,
she
does?
With the swords, yeah. The swords she has that are unrestrained. Those swords, she stabs them with them.
You're fighting a spider 1-on-1, who's clearly very capable of killing you, and the spider doesn't ever attack you with more than 1 leg at a time.
Also, my very favorite.
I'm sorry. What?
Mm-hmm. My very favorite thing happens after that, too. Or I guess my second favorite thing. My favorite thing is the Pollux conversation.
Pollux! We gotta go to Pollux!
My favorite thing about this is then they're like, good job killing that spider lady. And she's like, nah, don't seek justice, not revenge, be sad. And then everybody starts crying about the spider woman who is not in the rest of it or in the beginning. And then, hard cut to the next planet, and there's this guy down on his luck named General Titus, and they're like, hey, you're a big general, you fought against the Empire, we need you. And he goes, no, I can't be redeemed. And they're like, what about revenge? And he's like, I'm in for revenge. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute, you were just trying to teach us something a minute ago.
The very last person, not 15 minutes ago, just say
who's also standing right there.
Didn't she just say fucking revenge is cringe or whatever? Like, like I don't understand.
I want that to be in the script so bad.
No, revenge is cringe.
Revenge is so cringe. Don't revenge. Come on, guys.
And also everybody,
and then she did a big dab all over the place.
Yeah, and everybody is so easily convincible. Everybody's instantly ready to join sides.
Hey, do you want to join my very obvious suicide mission against the evil empire?
No.
Yeah, sure, I'm in.
Well, it's usually no. please. Okay.
Okay, yeah, you convinced me.
Okay, it was looking like there's going to be some adversity there and maybe a conflict.
No,
or a plot.
They explain it briefly a little later. I forget which one of the characters says it. I want to say it's Titus. He says a lot of these guys would have done it for free if only for the ability to strike back at the mother world or something like that. And I was like, that makes sense if you say it in the beginning of the movie. And that's the reason you're hunting these specific people.
Also,
but you didn't do that.
Genuinely a more likable cast of characters if you're like, there's an evil empire, do you guys want to help? And they're all like, fuck yeah. Like,
yeah.
If immediately they're all like on board and want to do a thing. You can either do the reluctant hero, or you can do sort of like everybody's down to basically fight the power.
That was why Luke Skywalker was so fucking lovable, because he was like, fuck the Empire. And then Ben Kenobi comes along and he's like, hey, you want to go fuck the Empire?
But he even has a reluctant hero thing too.
He does, yeah. He doesn't want to
like,
leave because he's comfortable in his life.
And that lasts fucking 25 minutes of the movie.
That lasts super short. As soon as Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are fucking human kebabs.
But there is a length of time.
No,
where he's
yeah,
like,
and there's like a reason for it, and you're sad about it. You see burnt corpses of people, which fuck you, special editions, for making that not happen anymore. But it was so, and it fucking hits when Luke Skywalker says, "There's nothing left for me here. I want to become a Jedi like my father. I want to learn the ways of the Force." And it's like, great, awesome, and everything leading up to that point made perfect fucking sense. It was great. It wasn't just, hey, you want to fight with us? No. Pretty please? Okay. Like, fuck you, man.
You're forgetting one important component is that they needed to get Han, Luke, and Leia together, and this movie has more characters, so they need to do it faster. Because they have more characters, Jeff. You don't understand. They needed to. Zack Snyder went to write this movie, and he was just like, "Ah, shit! I have so many characters that I need to put in this."
If this movie...
If only there's a way to make a movie with less characters.
Oh, yeah, right? And then the fucking scoundrel guy that ends up betraying them. Oh, nobody saw that coming. Oh.
My favorite... I keep saying my favorite thing. My third favorite...
Did he die?
Yeah.
I know he got the weird, like, brain cord
I think
paralyzer
that kills him.
up his neck.
That kills him or
like
paralyzes him or something. But he's not around.
Yeah.
My third favorite thing, because I keep saying my favorite thing.
There's so many favorite things. There's so many things to love in
that's
Zack
because I
Snyder's
love this
Rebel
movie.
Moon, Child of Fire Part 1, or whatever.
There's a scene at the end where the prince guy that rode the Griffin is like, yeah, I never trusted that guy anyway. And I went, you two did not have a fucking line together.
No.
There's no conversation that you two have ever had.
You two probably didn't even share screen time up until now.
There was definitely a time where they're both on the ship and walking in different directions, I imagine.
That's the thing. Can you point to that in the movie? No, you can't, because so much of that was a fucking slog.
Also, everybody's character trait is, what if they were dark and brooding and really hated the Empire because they lost somebody?
Yeah. That gets so old so fast, man.
As another, and I don't want to compare this so much to Star Wars, but it is obviously a pretty, like, it's trying to be compared a little bit.
Every positive review I've seen of this movie, the first line or two always says it's not supposed to be Star Wars. Don't go in expecting Star Wars. Do not compare it to Star Wars.
But isn't it supposed to be Star Wars a little bit?
It's supposed to be Star Wars.
Isn't it supposed to be Star Wars a little bit, guys?
It is supposed to be Star Wars. You have an empire and a rebellion. Come on.
Didn't he pitch it as Star Wars and then said, okay, I'll make a not Star Wars?
Yeah, like, this is a legally distinct Star Wars.
And I want there to, and I don't even, I am not in the same camp as you. I like a good amount of modern Star Wars. I do.
There are a lot of things to love in episodes 7 and 8, and there's even a couple good things in 9.
Sure, and I'm not delusional thinking that they're the best movies ever made.
No, of course not.
But like I am very much there's whole problems that we're not getting into in this episode that I have nuanced opinions on Star Wars. But fucking Rebel Moon, it's genuinely, it's worse than the rest of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of what Star Wars is worse than it. But it also, I was talking about how all the characters are dark and brooding. In Star Wars, you're like, here's Luke. He's sort of this optimistic farm boy. He's a little whiny here and there, but he'll get better.
But he believes in hope.
We have this princess, and she's a diplomat, but she's actually pretty badass, and she can hold her own in a fight, and she just wants to do the right thing and help out her rebellion and stuff like that. And then there's Han Solo, who's like, I just want to get paid, and once I'm paid, I'm gonna get out of here, and I get paid, and I'm gonna leave. Oh, but I have a heart of gold, and I'm gonna come back during the Death Star run. And I go, oh, you mean three distinct characters that I like a lot
that have different personalities,
and all bounce off of each other's personality because they all want sort of the same thing but are different people.
Yep.
In this one, I'm like. Also, all the fight scenes, I can pinpoint the coolest thing that Han, Luke, and Leia all do in each movie individually. I can give you 3 different answers.
Sure, yeah.
In this movie, in all of the fight scenes that are all slow motion, every fight scene is slow motion.
That's another complaint I have, but we'll get to that after you're done.
The one thing I was expecting was being like, well, it's a Zack Snyder film, so if it's not going to have good dialogue, it's not going to have good characters, it's not going to have like great writing. But the one thing I can count on is that it'll have great visuals and really good action scenes.
Right.
I'm thinking back to like fucking Feora versus Superman and Man of Steel. I'm thinking all of 300.
The Batman versus Superman fight.
Batman versus Superman. Pretty much every fight in Batman vs. Superman is pretty sick, and I don't like that movie.
No, everything between the fights sucks.
Yeah. Well, Doomsday Fight's pretty bad, but that's whatever. But this movie, there's one okay fight scene at the beginning in the barn.
Yep, where Korra stops the rape.
And then...
with the help of Jimmy, who shows up and kills the commander and then runs away and we don't see him again.
Him. I thought
Jimmy,
you were talking about
the
the
robot
other
name
guy.
is Jimmy.
Yeah. Because I thought you were talking about the farmer guy that's the main guy that we haven't talked about yet, and we'll
Gunner?
get to him. Yeah, we'll get to him.
No.
Also,
what happened with the fucking soldier boy who stood up against the rape?
Who knows? Who cares?
And his life got saved. Did they just leave him behind?
Who knows? Who cares?
I feel like he was an able-bodied guy that could have helped fight.
You mean have a movie where there's like a defecting soldier of the Empire, a robot who has some morals?
Yeah, we can call him like Finn or something.
A woman who sort of has this deep history with the Empire and is like this killing machine, and sort of this farmer guy that wants to do the right thing. You like those 4 distinct kind of characters that all were in the first 15 minutes of the movie, all team up together and do a thing, all after they were all in the inciting incident together to help this girl.
Yeah.
No, that's stupid. That's really dumb. We have to go get General
They have
Titus,
a bonding experience killing all of these soldiers. They should bond further and make this a better movie.
But what if they went to General Titus, a military genius who doesn't know generaling in any way?
He doesn't know generaling?
I said he doesn't general in any way. Like, he doesn't do any commanding. Like, they call him a genius commander, General Titus.
They say that twice.
They say it more than once, yeah.
Yep.
And he doesn't do any sort of commanding. But all the fight scenes, other than that one and the spider fight, every fight scene after that is, what if everybody was kind of behind chest-high walls, slow motion shooting lasers? You don't see where the laser goes. You don't see where it connects to somebody else.
Yup.
And then they say at one point, the good guys won. The only people who I can think of who have kills on screen that I know of are Korra and Nemesis. Those are the only 2 characters that I remember ever seeing.
Well, Noble, the bad guy.
Well, sure, but I'm thinking good guys. I'm thinking between the group of rebel guys.
I want to say there was like some nameless soldiers that fell when Titus was like shooting, but like just like you said, most of the action is like
Ray Fisher gets a kill.
Yep.
Yeah, and then dies.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the blood axes yet. We haven't gotten to the point that they're looking. The whole movie is a quest for these guys called the Blood Axes, and he's looking for something Blood Axe, and his sister something Blood Axe. I don't know.
Her name was Dara. I remember that because
Dara,
I wanted to say Deborah, but it's not Deborah. It's Dara.
Deborah would be awesome, and she has like she's just like a suburban like 50-year-old white mother who has like the Peggy Hill like bun.
Oh my god, I would have absolutely loved that. No, it's Darian Blood Axe and Devra.
Okay.
Devra. That's why. It's Devra. That's why I kept wanting to say Deborah. But it's Devra and Darian.
I love that they meet up with the Blood Axes on Pollux. This is when they finally get to Pollux, and they go, hey, we need a bunch of army people. Also, there's no scene of them meeting the rebellion. They're just in front of an entire army with Ray Fisher in front of them.
Yeah, they end up. They go to the planet where the rebellion is supposed to be, and King Leviticus, who's also voiced by the guy.
That can't be his name. Hold on, what?
King Leviticus.
His name can't be King Leviticus, right?
King Leviticus.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Levitica.
Okay, that's not just a word from the Bible.
Yeah, it's King Levitica. But he's voiced by Tony Amendola.
Is he the alien guy?
Yeah, the alien guy that looks like a fish man.
Yeah.
But you know Tony Amendola as Jedi Master, what's his nuts from the Star Wars game, Cordova.
Oh,
he is Jedi Master Cordova.
Okay.
So he's literally a Star Wars guy, and he's now in here as King Levitica, an alien king who we see very briefly on his home planet before he gets beaten to death, like 2 scenes later.
Yeah, they really try to make you sad for that gray alien.
I wasn't sad though, because you didn't give me enough time to care about this man.
He was in a scene
and
earlier.
You didn't make him do anything.
He was in a scene before that though.
Briefly.
You saw him.
Yeah.
So don't you feel bad for him?
So speaking of the visual, because this is similar to that, you mentioned the visuals in Zack Snyder films being great. There were several times I could point to the CGI and it looked fucking terrible.
No, it's so weird. There's time because it looks pretty good through most of it. And then there are some times where I go, oh, this is a movie for Netflix, which is not an endorsement.
No. When they're flying into Levitica's planet and there's all like the weird pillars there, it looks terrible. It looked like Batman the Animated Series there for a second. And that's not a compliment for this movie. Although Batman the Animated Series is great,
it's fantastic.
It's a different art style,
and also the early 2000s and late 90s.
No, it's 92 to 94.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I think I'm
Kevin Conroy's animated series.
I think I'm combining it with Justice League, which is the same Batman.
Yes.
So,
you're combining it with the new Batman Adventures or Batman the Brave and the Bold.
No, I'm definitely I combine the whole.
Honestly,
sort of
it's all
Superman
giant continuation.
I really can combine Superman all the way up to Justice League Unlimited.
I mean, that's how you should watch it because it's a continuing story of the DC universe.
I've been rewatching Justice League Unlimited. Pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
I was wondering if it held up. It's pretty.
It does. All of the 90s DC shit holds up. None of it missed.
And
that's not why we're here today.
Well, Zack Snyder did make a Batman vs Superman movie, and it is reminding me that I do like when Superman and Batman are friends.
Yeah, dude, when they're friends, it's amazing.
I do want it to go back to what if they were friends sometimes.
Yeah, man, it's so much better when they're friends and when Peter Parker is happy and when everybody could just, do things, but then you got to put conflicts in there.
Actually, Peter Parker is actually Marvel Comics.
I know he is. I was comparing it to
I know what you were saying.
My favorite Spider-Mans are when
wanted to turn
Peter's
into the worst
actually
internet
happy.
Person. What if I was the worst internet person?
I would hate you more than I do. And you would also be defending this movie instead of shitting on it.
I'm a white man with podcasts, so
that's true.
I'm halfway there.
But parts of this movie just looked garbage. And when she's packing up and leaving her little farmhouse after her adopted father tries to stop her, she opens the door and it looks like a painted backdrop. And she doesn't walk into it, she turns immediately left. Because when you walk out of your house, you just make a very tight left and hug the outside wall of your house. Don't you, Troy? It's a very natural thing for you to do, isn't it? And every time she spoke before they left, before the fight scene in the barn, it felt like a cardboard cutout delivering lines. She had no personality behind any of it. And I don't know if that was an artistic choice or if, this particular actress is not great at acting because I've never seen her in anything else.
I have seen her in something else, and I can't remember what it was.
I think I have her page open here. Her name is Sofia Boutella.
Yes. I have heard other people say that she's good in other stuff. So I think that's this movie.
She was in Atomic Blonde in 2017 and The Mummy.
Oh, she is the Mummy, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
That is what so that is also not a good movie.
She's also in Star Trek Beyond as somebody.
Okay.
Who fucking knows? But it's just
so I have seen her in another thing. It was The Mummy, which is also not an endorsement, but I don't think that that's not really her fault cuz she's not really she's a
that one's not her fault. I'll
scary
give her a pass for that. But God, Oh, she's also going to be in that new Argyle movie coming out about the crime author whose stories are real, which apparently we have to go watch. We're not going to go watch that, are we?
I mean, we don't have to watch it. I am of the belief that I think it will be fun. I am not in the same camp as you. I'm not a doomer like you. I like when things are fun.
I'm not a doomer. I just, I like fun things. We're going to go watch The Beekeeper, and I'm going to love that. You know I am.
I can't imagine a world where Argyle's worse than The Beekeeper, right?
No, but here's the thing. The Beekeeper, and my biggest thing with Rebel Moon would be a much better movie if it didn't take itself super serious every goddamn second. If you injected a little lighthearted humor, or if you let the sci-fi be a little more loosey-goosey, this would have been a much better film instead of being like an absolute serious balls-to-the-wall film every second. You don't need that. That's one of the reasons, and we're doing it again. It's one of the reasons Star Wars is so good, is because it injects a little lightheartedness.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah, sometimes. It injects some lightheartedness into the seriousness to help alleviate some tension or to make you love a character more because they show a different side of their personality. And it's just, everyone in this movie is dark and brooding and depressing and talking about past failures that brought them here or whatever other dumb bullshit Snyder put in their mouths. And I can't fucking stand it. The dialogue is so bad.
You know what my favorite piece of dialogue is? This is my favorite thing.
Oh boy.
There is a scene where they meet Ray Fisher for the first time, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Blood Axe, can you help us?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've got this whole army here. I'm gonna pick out 4 people." And he's like, "Who wants to help?" And this woman walks out, and
yep,
he goes, "Why am I not surprised it'd be you?" And she goes, "Somebody has to make sure that you come back alive." First line of dialogue she has. Second line of dialogue she has, no, you died, you blew up, oh no.
Yeah.
She yells no because he blows up and dies. And then she has one more line at the end of the movie where she goes, "All my friends are dead." And I'm like, oh, that's a complete
arc.
That's a
beginning
pretty
to end.
powerful arc, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So much of this dialogue is so stupid and cheesy and clunky. And the cheesiness can slide as long as you don't take yourself seriously. If you're taking yourself seriously and you're delivering lines like, "Why am I not surprised?" then your movie sucks. Straight up, your movie fucking sucks.
Also, Jeff, can I ask you a question? Can you tell me what's over on your sort of table over there on the sort of, what it is?
Are you talking about the Lego TIE Fighter or the lightsaber that I built with my own hands in Disney World?
I am talking about the Lego TIE Fighter specifically.
Okay.
What do TIE Fighters usually shoot at?
TIE Fighters usually shoot?
Yeah, when they're flying around and they find other ships in the sky, what are they usually shooting at historically? Like another Star Wars ship.
The X-Wings?
Sure, that's one. Yeah.
The Falcon?
Maybe, yeah. If somebody ever showed you just an image of any of those 3 ships that we just named, would you be able to pick them out of a lineup of other fantasy spaceships?
I think I know where you're going with this, but yeah, I could. They're very unique designs. Mm-hmm. They're very stark. Like when you see that TIE Fighter against the space background in 4, you know it immediately.
What about the Enterprise from
Enterprise, sure. I could probably draw you a picture of that. It's got the twin engines and then the big circular front. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite ship in this fucking movie?
The big dick looking one from the beginning, the Dreadnought, the King's Gaze, I think they call it.
Every ship in this fucking sucks. Dude. There's no iconic anything in this movie.
They also don't show any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have some space travel, but it's all from within the ship.
Yeah.
So you don't get to see the outside of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's an artistic choice that you're trying to deliberately not show us the ships, but then what's the point of that scene on the farm in the beginning when the Dreadnought shows up and they're like, "Oh no, the Empire's here."
Dreadnought's also the only one you name because I think it's the only one with a name.
It's the only one with a name. They call it's a Dreadnought class ship and they call it the King's Gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And I only know that because of the stupid fucking speech he gives before he beats the Fish King to death.
Yeah.
This was so fucking stupid. You're gonna have a sci-fi film with spaceships but you don't emphasize any of the spaceships.
But also, they don't really emphasize the laser swords that much, and they don't really.
Also,
emphasize
this
the
lady has 2 laser swords. First we're seeing of them. Everyone else in this fucking universe has a gun that you have to, like, warm up before you shoot it, which seems like a big step backwards from ballistics technology. But, you know, who am I? Who am I to say what goes and what doesn't in your sci-fi universe? And it's the lasers bullshit, and it's fucking...
The only thing that I can think of that I would be able to, if you just showed me the static image.
I got so upset I couldn't finish my sentence. It just escaped my brain, and I trailed off with a grunt.
But if
my God.
if you showed me,
I'm evolving backwards. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, so are his X movies. His film career is really, he keeps getting more control of the movies, and they keep getting worse.
When I was watching this film last night with Michaela on the couch next to me, I was like, dude, this is Zack Snyder's film. And she was like, why do I know that name? And I was like, he made 300. And she was like, no. And I was like, yeah, the guy who made 300 made this movie. And she was like, no, there's no way. You're pulling my leg. And I was like, no, look it up. And she did. And her jaw dropped. She was like, there's no fucking way he went from that to this. And I was like, no, he made a lot of other really shitty movies between then and now.
and they arguably keep getting worse. Like, as time goes on, you have, like, Sucker Punch in the middle somewhere in there, and that's pretty bad. But, like, you have...
I mean, Army of Dead or this one, Rebel Moon.
Army of Dead. Army of the Dead every day.
Yeah?
Army of the Dead every day, and it's not a question to me. and we made a podcast, and
that
we
one was
didn't
at least that one was at least like bad enough that I laughed at it for parts.
I can tell you the distinct personalities of all the characters. Not right now because I don't remember the characters. But if I watched the movie, they did have distinct personalities.
They did. They weren't all just like terrible assholes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I deserve love or if I can love after what happened. What do you mean? And then they never.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is this is a trailer for the second movie as well.
That's all this was. All this was a massive trailer to set up your second movie, and even then, there's so much that happened that needed to be explained, and you haven't explained it. They didn't ever say what the betrayal was until at the very end they show, like, her fucking adopted dad as the regent guy in charge, right? Like, that was when I first, like, pieced it together, and it's like, okay, so that's the betrayal. So are you implying that you are the one who murdered the king's daughter? Or you just let it happen because your dad was doing the killing? Like, I feel like there's more that needs to be explained here that isn't, and I don't like it.
Also, they never really said why she stopped being part of the Empire. She just was like, yeah, my boyfriend died.
We found this in the crash, and it's like, what crash? You were in a crash, and you landed on this moon? And, like, you were the regent's daughter? And nobody went looking for you?
In all the flashbacks, she also seemed real fucking amped up about the Empire.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then I stopped liking the Empire. And I'm like, I feel like you probably need a reason to not like the... You were pretty jazzed about the Empire.
Star Wars made Finn from a stormtrooper into a rebel in 15 minutes. And they did it way fucking better than this movie does in 2 hours. Like, the bloody handprint on the helmet and him just staring.
No,
I was like, great, he's leaving. And now I get why.
Mm-hmm. And then arguably one of the best scenes of the entire sequel trilogy is Finn and Poe in the TIE Fighter together, flying away from everybody. And you're just like, this is fucking fun. And I'm also happy for this guy to be out of the situation. I like this new guy enough who's like sort of this weird Han Solo character, but more altruistic. Like I'm like, oh, I'm 25 minutes into this movie and I have a pretty good read on these guys.
I enjoyed Force Awakens so much. I saw it in the theaters 4 times. Mm-hmm. That was also because I worked at the time across the street from Oxford Valley Mall movie theater, so I would just walk over there after work sometimes and just watch the movie. If I was just waiting for the bus or something, I would just head over there and catch the movie again.
Man, what a fucking time to be alive as a Star Wars fan. And then there was a period of time afterwards where people went, yeah, now I'm starting to think about it. It was just kind of New Hope, but prettier. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then people were like, yeah, I really hope the next one's something different. And then I watched Last Jedi, and I was in theaters of Last Jedi, and I genuinely like, wow, this is a unique Star Wars movie that is one creator's vision, and I'm leaving this theater, and I can't wait to go out into this world where people fucking love this movie. And then I walked out into the world, and cars were on fire, and people were stabbing each other.
You were
in the
that
streets.
scene from Community when Donald Glover comes back in with all the pizzas?
100%.
And the whole room's on fire?
Yeah, the hallway behind me is actually the movie theater of me leaving.
And you walk in smiling with pizzas, and everything's on fire, and
suddenly
people are screaming.
Star Wars is woke now and hates men or whatever, and has and everybody's
And
trying
they
to,
gave an Asian lady some lines.
Yeah, they're bullying Kelly Marie Tran to try to kill herself online or whatever. And I was just like, what happened? I was like, I literally left the movie going, everybody's gonna love this. and it was not the case. It didn't happen.
How naive
the opposite
we were.
happened.
That's not at all what happened.
And then a few years later, I left the theater of Rise of Skywalker, and I went, I understand why this happened. And I went out and I went, I don't think everybody's going to love this. But that one I was correct about.
Yeah. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh, God. Okay.
You know what? I would still watch that movie again instead of watching Rebel Moon again.
No, that's the thing that blew my mind, is I think Rise of Skywalker kind of blows fucking hard chunks and is way better than this movie.
Yeah, man.
I am surprised how much better Rise of Skywalker is in this movie.
Dude, oh my God. Never thought I would ever defend that pile of garbage, but here we are. I just can't fucking wrap my head around how you can have a virtually blank check and you still let bullshit like this happen.
And I am very happy that all the people who very, very much love this movie are also people who then turn around and they're just like, I hate the fact that they're making another Rey movie and that it's directed by a woman. That's the new controversy, is that they're mad that the woman who once said that she likes to challenge men's perspective in her films said that she's making a movie about a female, and not an interview talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. No, I know.
And I'm very excited for the future of internet discourse. It's great.
The only other note I had here that we haven't really hit on my phone is that at the end, after Jax from Sons of Anarchy, because that's the actor, he plays the scoundrel guy.
Yeah.
After Jax betrays them and has them all chained up in that weird walking carrier thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier, I can't pinpoint any technology that if you just showed me this thing, I could tell you, oh, that's from Rebel Moon. I can do that with every other fantasy thing. The spider gamer chairs is the only thing I can think of. The scorpion gamer chairs.
Didn't work for me. You know why?
Huh?
They had similar shit in fucking issues of Batman Arkham.
Okay.
That's how they transported some prisoners.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I'll give you that one.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the thing they had Joker in the Batman Arkham Asylum game.
I don't know if Zach stole that one, though. I think that could just be
No. It's a pretty generic-looking thing, but I was like, oh, that's just the thing they used to transport the high-value prisoners in Arkham from the games and some of the comics.
Sure.
Like, it literally looks the same. Anyway, that's not important. What is important, none of that happens if you don't hand Gunner the paralyzer gun.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you're going through the effort of making this prisoner transport thing that holds them perfectly still and walks on its own, and you don't just install a brainstem severer into the machine?
You mean so the bad guy could then just press a button and the entire rebellion dies?
Yeah.
Instantly?
Instead, you make it a separate gun device that you have to pull out of a secret drawer in the base of this thing, and then you have to plug it into the back, and then you sever the brain. Okay. Maybe that's because you have to make sure you only sever the brainstem and you leave your victim alive. So it needs to be precise or something. Fine. Why did you hand that thing to the one good guy left that you didn't have restrained?
Also, why didn't you restrain him?
Also, why didn't you? I get the sadistic part of, I know you're in love with her. It's like, you do? You got that? I've been watching this guy interact with her for like an hour and a half. I didn't get that at all, but okay. And then fucking, why did you hand that thing to him? And then he goes and shoots you under the chin with this stabby thing and lets her free.
Well,
she still has to climb down out of this thing. You can easily just shoot her and everyone else.
I also like the fact that the way that these things are designed is if you turn around and stab the guy with the bad Irish accent, then also at the same time it will release all of the prisoners from the chairs, which is he stabs him and then immediately all the chairs open up and they all get out, and I just go, why would that be the thing that happens when you do that?
Seems like a pretty bad security feature if all your prisoners go free as soon as the warden dies.
Yeah.
I don't, and then even if they all get unlocked immediately, they don't know that's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine there's at least a couple seconds of reaction time, except from maybe the legendary General Titus, who may have been in this position before. We don't know. You're still surrounded by a small army of the bad guys.
Don't pretend like General Titus's accolades are not well known, Jeff. Come on.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect his name like that. But you're still surrounded by a small army of the bad guys, all with big bad guns. What? Why didn't they just kill him?
Well, because the good guys have to win, Jeff. I don't understand.
If you're gonna do something like this, you need to at least arrange it in a fashion where it's at least plausible that the good guys can escape from a overwhelming odds. For example, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. I'm gonna make this up completely out of thin air. If you're the good guys, small band of rebels, and there's overwhelming odds coming at you, right? They would need to put you in some sort of a hallway, right? So that you would be able to hide and take cover and return fire.
Sure.
And then you would need some sort of escape from that hallway, like a laundry chute or a garbage chute that you might be able to slide down to escape the bad guys.
I guess.
You're clearly not going to kill the overwhelming force as a small band of rebels. Right?
I don't know.
I know it seems a little far-fetched. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. But like, if you're gonna do something where your rebels are facing overwhelming odds, you need to set it up a little more, in a way that could be.
But Jeff, there was no garbage chute there. How would they do that?
They could have landed on a different fucking planet.
But that's the planet that Blood Axe was on. They
could have made it any fucking planet. They could have made it any fucking swap of whatever.
I don't understand. Blood Axe was on that planet. It seems like you're not getting this.
Yeah, because Blood Axe followed them to that planet. They went there because he had to drop off some cargo. And they could have made that planet look like anything. Provided infinite cover for a shootout. And instead, it was just a floating series of platforms that are loosely connected with a couple boxes on them.
I have another question here for you. They showed right before they captured all the good guys, them basically Halo glassing a planet from low orbit.
Glassing,
yeah. Oh, I thought for some reason I always say glassing. I don't know why. Well,
Glass is an operator from Rainbow Six, right?
That's what he does. He pulls out his little sniper rifle. He shoots at the planet a bunch. He kills each individual person.
That sounds very time consuming.
It takes a lot of time. He's very tired and needs a lot of bullets. It's like a belt-fed sniper rifle.
So it's like a Gatling gun, but it shoots like 50 caliber Barrett sniper rounds.
He's gotten really good though. Like sometimes he stops looking. He goes and grabs like a drink. He keeps sipping. He's shooting the whole time. He's just kind of one-handing it.
And nobody can stop him while
he's in space. It's a long scope. It's a high magnification scope. It's the new buff coming to him.
Oh fuck! I want to reinstall Siege now.
So you can play the super. Actually, kind of overpowered Glass. I'm actually kind of surprised they did that to him.
Oh man, I need to get more fucking Series X storage because now that I have the new console, they won't let me play the Xbox One version of Siege. I have to upgrade it.
Yeah, it's real dumb.
So I need more hard drive space.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about pulling the trigger on the fucking $300 like 2 terabyte expansion, but that's $300, man.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not my favorite thing that they've done.
Anyway, so they have the thing that can glass a planet.
Yeah, so they have that, right? They're blowing up whole cities and stuff like that in that one scene.
Yeah.
What if they did that when they knew all the guys were on the planet and maybe just the scoundrel guy flew off right before that happened? because he has the ship and has the keys to the
He
ship.
could have just locked them all up and then flown away.
Yeah, and then because the Empire, I don't really know why they need this planet, but you'd think if all of your enemies are on it and you're an evil empire that seems to be kind of brutal and other things,
and doesn't regard human life very highly.
Right, and you just destroyed an entire other civilization of people, that this wouldn't be that big of a deal to you. Why didn't they do that?
A fucking good question. Also, what was up with like the whole big fight at the end between Korra and Noble? And she clearly kills him.
Mm.
And yet his body gets recovered Darth Vader style.
Well, he's like a robot, but not a robot or something.
When was that revealed?
Right at the end. It's
I saw them pull the skin flap back.
Uh-huh.
But why is that? That's just supposed to explain why he's still alive?
He's like a robot, so he lived.
I feel
he's
like
a robot.
I feel like if Korra was punching a robot, she would know very quickly.
No, I think it's
flesh and bone feels very different under a fist than metal.
No, I mean, well, she stabbed him in the leg, and he did yell at him pain. He did seem like he was in pain.
And she did stab him in the chest, and he did bleed. She also broke both of his arms.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's also a robot. Maybe that's the reveal.
Oh my god.
Maybe she's another robot.
Here's the thing. I don't care enough.
That's part 2, the Scar Giver.
It is. The part 2 is called the Scar Giver.
Maybe the Scar Giver's a robot, and she's the
Well,
robot.
that was her nickname.
What if everybody's
in the military
a robot?
was the Scar Giver?
What if all of them are robots? What if that's the big reveal at the end of all of this?
Then I would care infinitely less.
What if the Anthony Hopkins robot was a human and you took it off and it was Anthony
also,
Hopkins?
What was with them going back to the fucking farm planet and the robot just has
and
like
an
antler crown and a staff?
Well,
is he just the king of the wild now? What the fuck happened?
I do just want a little spin-off prequel thing where it's just like a little 30-minute like mini episode of just him hunting in the forest and just fucking snapping a deer's neck and then making a crown and just being like, I just like this, and just putting it on. Because, yeah, there isn't really a reason for him to do that. Also, he doesn't need a staff. He doesn't need like a walking stick. He's a robot.
He's a robot. And according to his Wikipedia description, he is the Jimmy, the last member of a race of mechanical knights. Okay, cool. So he's the very last of these robot knights, and you're just giving him to this little squad on a farming planet to move boxes? Seems a little weird. Seems a lot weird, actually. I don't...
Well, maybe there's a big...
Nothing in this movie makes
sequels.
sense.
Maybe the sequels will make it all make sense. Or the director's cut.
Nothing.
You understand that both of us are going to get hate later on when people are like, actually, the director's cut's way better, and you should just watch the correct Rebel Moon. And we should have just been, and we're going to yell at the people in the streets like, but why didn't they make the good movie the first time?
Yeah.
And they're going to go, no, just watch the good one, just watch the better one. And if we do cave and watch it, it will be maybe slightly better in some areas and mostly bullshit.
No, I'm saying it right now, and fuck any of you defending this. Fuck this movie. Fuck its director's cut. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay? I'm not falling for it a second fucking time.
You can't fool me twice.
Love sci-fi films.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is number one for me. I absolutely love space operas and space fantasies and space epics. I still begrudgingly play Starfield and try to love it every couple of weeks because it's space and it's awesome and I love space.
I was wondering where your stance on that was going to be because you and Chris came way out of the gate swinging, loving Starfield, and I'm like, it's kind of
the
okay.
luster wore off real quick.
Yeah.
But I keep trying to love it because I do love Fallout Skyrim, but I just can't love it. I keep trying though. I keep going back. He keeps saying he's going to change.
Now Todd will not change.
No, you're just playing it wrong. Genuine thing he said.
Oh my god.
We'll get into that off air.
Oh god, I love Todd so much.
But, like, I just can't... Nothing about this movie, its planets, its people, its races, its fucking factions made me...
Is Todd Howard the Zack Snyder of video games?
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Fuck you, don't say that. Fuck this movie.
I don't hate either of them.
This movie couldn't make me care, and that's the worst part. You need to make me care as a fucking movie watcher.
And I was so excited to I not excited. I thought this movie was gonna be bad. I went into this with the best intentions I could, and it was not super charitable, but it did disappoint me off of those expectations.
Todd is the Marvel Studios of video games. He keeps cranking out samey titles that are just good enough to keep him a job.
But he doesn't crank them out fast enough. And I don't know if that's the direct comparison I would go with.
It's better than Snyder. Anyway.
I don't know. There's an analogy there somewhere, and I don't know.
Or we can just appreciate that they're two different mediums.
Yeah.
You can't compare people like that.
No. You can compare everybody to other people. There's a sliding scale.
I think he's more like Jesus.
You think Todd Howard's like Jesus?
You said we could compare anybody, right?
That's true. I did say that.
I think he's like Jesus. His name is Todd, which sounds like God. So he's a lot like Jesus. That one got you, didn't it?
Howard's a biblical name.
Yeah, you don't remember the book of Howard? And God said unto Howard, "Go make Fallout, please."
And he goes, "Give me a little bit.
Yeah,
give me like 10 years."
Yeah.
And then it came
out. Would you
appreciate
appreciate a lackluster MMO instead? No. Here's your lackluster MMO.
And he goes, "Oh my God, it's worse than I expected."
And then Todd's like, "No, wait, we'll fix it. Give us another 3 years."
And he goes, "No, I just want Skyrim 2. Give me Skyrim 2, Todd."
Fine, here's a trailer coming in 2027. Now stop.
You just gave me mountains. These are just mountains. I can't play mountains.
Well, eventually, you see that mountain? You can go there.
No, I can't. It's not a game, Todd. It's not real. You didn't make the game.
You and your leather jacket and shiny shoes. Make me a fucking game. Goddamn. This is devolved.
Okay, here's my question to you. What will happen first? Another great Bethesda game or a great Pokemon game?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What hits first?
Bethesda.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's really banking on the idea that
Bethesda,
the next Elder Scrolls is good.
Bethesda is now beholden to Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And they will demand better. Especially after the way Skyrim flopped.
There will be,
Starfield, excuse me.
That being said, there will be 2 or 3 Pokemon games before there's an Elder Scroll.
That's true. That said, Pokemon is very comfortably in this routine of cranking out the same game with new Pokemon, and they sell 1 billion copies. I don't think they're going to fuck up a winning formula, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah. It's tough competition. I'm going to optimistically say Pokemon just for the sake of controversy.
I hope you're right. I hope you finally get a good Pokemon game.
Well, in 7 years we'll know.
7 years? Do you think that's when the next Bethesda game's coming out?
It's a short window maybe.
Nah. But
no,
we're getting Elder Scrolls 6, I want to say next year.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
I think it's next year.
I don't know if I...
Allegedly.
Even if they say it's next year, I don't know if it's next year. Maybe 2 years.
I mean, you know what the best part is? Now that Bethesda is part of Microsoft and they are a publicly traded company, they have their little shareholder meetings where they announce game release dates. So we'll know soon.
You know what's one thing that's
Or at least we'll know the window they're shooting for.
You know what is one thing that's really nice about both Starfield and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, though? I like both of them more than Rebel Moon. I enjoyed
Bring it on back to the movie we were supposed to talk about. So, letter grade. Letter grade.
Boy.
Come on.
Oh, boy.
Come on.
Have we given an F before?
Nope.
Do I want to get... Is it bad enough for that?
I think it gets a D. And here's why. It has potential. It really does have potential. If they need to do a lot of drastic changes between now and part 2, which is coming out in almost exactly 3 months, so I'm not very optimistic. But they could redeem this
but
possibly.
That's not this movie. That's the next movie.
No, but I'm saying the seeds are there.
Sure.
So it's not a complete, utter trash waste of my time. But it's close. I'm not saying it's not there.
No,
I
get it. I don't disagree. Man, can I give it an E?
You can give it an F plus or a D. No, F is just F. You can give it a D minus maybe.
I'm gonna go D minus.
It's right on the border of being an absolute failure for me.
I called people halfway through this and then at the end, and you then also did the same thing to me around the same points in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. We did the exact same thing without coordinating that.
You called me and then started telling me about the thing, and I was like, that's incredibly funny.
Dude, that's... God, so much of this movie sucked.
It's not good. And here's the thing. I don't think that Zach is, like, the worst person that has ever made movies in Hollywood.
Of course not.
I think that he has talent. I think that he needs a writer. I think that
he has the same problem Lucas had with the prequels, where he's too directly involved. And he needs to hire people that are better at the individual parts and step back.
I would love if there was a accessible Netflix franchise that basically everybody who has Netflix can take part in, and then a bunch of them hit movie theaters even, and they were helmed by Zack Snyder and had this big unified cool vision and cool effects, and was a space opera, and was something that rivaled Star Wars and gave Star Wars competition. Star Wars, which I love. And I would love if there was two big competing space operas at the same time.
Right? Just like Star Wars games are some of my favorite in the world. Mm-hmm. And if we had like similar styled sci-fi exploration games, like just give me a fucking laser sword and a pistol and let me go kill things on a planet.
Imagine when a Star Wars movie and a Rebel Moon movie were come out at the same time, and then people are making direct comparisons as long as it doesn't get too toxic. There's a whole market for this, and there's also a lot of people who currently are not very plussed by Star Wars right now and want another thing, and I would have been very happy for them. And I would have been happy for Zack Snyder, who I think is less shitty than his fans. I think that his fans have a bunch of opinions and stuff like that and project it onto him.
Sure, absolutely.
And he's not that guy. And I think that he's a better dude than the fan base that he has.
Oh, yeah.
And
most creators are.
Yeah.
And here's my thing, right? Like, I would absolutely... My biggest thing with this film...
The ones that aren't are the ones who have creators that suck, I guess.
Yeah. The biggest thing to take away from this film is that because it's a Netflix film, it doesn't matter what the reviews are. Mm-hmm. They only cared about clicks and streams. And it's going to do...
I did click on it.
A lot of people did. Even just to rage watch it. Much like Velma on HBO Max. So it's going to look like a big commercial success, and I'm also fucking worried about part 2 because we're going to end up watching it. It comes out in 3 months. It's already in the hopper. There's no way it comes out in 3 months and they're still working on it. No, It's done. They're just waiting to hit publish. And they're not going to learn anything from this movie to make that one better. So it's going to be more of the same slog, just with a different coat of paint on it. And I'm just really worried that they're going to learn the wrong lessons from this release and the next one, and we're going to end up with this expanded universe that's half-baked and not worth your time. But they're going to think it's hot shit, and everyone loves it, because it just keeps getting streams. And there's so much more to this internet age than just watching something, and the big networks don't seem to get that.
Mm-hmm. And again, like
they're not going to learn anything.
I was stating before that 2023 was a big reminder that people are starting to shift towards movies with sort of independent visions and ideas of movies. And people are like, this is a year where people unironically were like, what's this biopic about the atomic bomb guy, the 3-hour atomic bomb guy movie about? Let's go see that. And it made tons of money.
And it won 8 Golden Globes, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's going to win Oscars. It might win Best Picture. And
it honestly should win Best Picture.
Dude. So there's like 3 in my head. There's Oppenheimer, which I think probably will win it. Killers of the Flower Moon's probably its direct competition. And I really like Poor Things, but I don't think Poor Things is going to win it. I think Poor Things is my favorite movie of 2023.
Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's 2022. Okay. 2024 Best Picture. Oh, okay. These are still predictions.
Yeah, they don't have them yet.
I looked it up immediately, and it was like, oh, well, that's easy. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I was like, no, that's outdated. Oppenheimer is the lead runner.
Yeah, I think the competition is going to be it's gonna be Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon.
That's number 3 on their list.
And Poor Things would be mine.
Number 2. You name the top 3.
Yeah, that would be
following those is Barbie, and then The Holdovers, and then Past Lives.
Poor Things is the one that I would say should win. I don't think it's going to win because I think it's a little too weird, and it's kind of a comedy, but not really. It's a lot more comical than the other ones, at least.
Yeah.
So I think
I definitely think between Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Killers of the Flower Moon, that's your best picture.
I have so one of my New Year's resolutions is I think to be a little bit less of a curmudgeon about certain things. I'm a pretty positive person, but there's some vendettas that I just stick with. And I've always been like a grumpy, almost pretentiously disliking the Oscars person. And I think I'm gonna turn around and just enjoy it as what it is. And I think I might watch the Oscars this year because it's a good fucking year for movies.
Yeah, I mean,
I am upset that
I don't know if I want to watch it. I'm definitely gonna look it up the next day just to see the list.
I am very upset that people are really talking up this movie Zone of Interest, which I haven't seen, that I would like to see because people are saying it's really good. But it is probably going to win Best Foreign Language Film. And there was a part of me that was really hoping we would see a year where Godzilla won an Oscar.
-1 might get nominated.
It's going to get nominated for things.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to win Best Foreign Film, which is
for the record.
Be great.
Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer did win Best Actor, Golden Globe, and Emma Stone got Best Actress for Poor Things.
She should. That's an incredible.
And then the new Golden Globe. I don't know if you heard about this. They added a new one for the Best Blockbuster, and that went to Barbie.
Yep.
Best Drama Picture went to Oppenheimer.
Did Lily Gladstone win anything for Killers of Flower Moon? I think she did. I want to say she did. Lily Gladstone. She's incredible.
Yeah. She got an actress in a drama.
She's incredible in that.
Yep.
And that's a movie much like
RDJ got Best Supporting Actor for Oppenheimer.
A good answer too.
That's a great answer.
The problem is
followed up by Willem Dafoe in Poor Things.
100% incredible.
Oh my God, so fucking good.
You should.
And then Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things.
You have not seen Poor Things, right?
Or Killers of the Flower Moon.
Watch fucking Poor Things.
I want to.
It is a movie that I do not recommend to people so far because it is very weird and has like a lot of like weird sex scenes in it. Like a lot, like 50% of the movie sex scenes. And they're weird sex scenes.
Okay.
And it's one of those movies where I'm just and it has like this really weird premise, and I don't want to tell you much about it, but it's one of these things that's like a very weird, kind of uncomfortable movie, but it's funny and it's cool and it's great and it's inspiring. And if you're a fucking weirdo, watch this movie, and you're a person I would recommend this to. Most people I'd be like, I'm like afraid to recommend it to people because I don't want somebody to walk out and be like, what the fuck was that? So what the fuck was that all about?
The other one I want to nod to real quick is the Best Animated Feature Film went to The Boy and the Heron from Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
Absolutely well-deserved. Especially with Pixar and Disney having absolute... Illumination,
Spider-Verse.
And Disney and Pixar just having flops at the end of the year with Elemental and Wish and fucking Migration.
Did think Elemental was fine.
But that's the thing. It was fine. It shouldn't have won.
Hated Wish.
So it didn't win.
Wish is terrible.
I do think Mario Brothers movie deserved a nom, but not an award. But Across the Spider-Verse, I'm glad it got nominated. I think the next one is gonna get the award.
Boy and the Heron should beat it for the Oscars. I don't know if it will.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just
Also, best original song went to Barbie, but not for the one that it should have been. I'm Just Ken is everything. It's Queen is Mother. It is the moment. It is my favorite thing.
Yeah, and, I'm Just Ken should have won, but instead, What Was I Made For won.
And it's fine. It top charts. It's great.
I think
Dance the Night Away also top charts. There's
I really
movies.
think they just wanted to give Billie Eilish a Golden Globe.
Barbie will win best.
Peaches got nominated from the Mario Brothers movie.
Oh yeah, that's kind of iconic though. That's kind of cool.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
Every child in America was singing that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's also kind of the one really memorable thing from that movie.
That and the nihilistic star.
Oh yeah, no, that's very funny too.
We're all gonna die.
I don't hate that movie, but
no, you can't hate that movie. It was fine.
I mean, it's designed to not be hated.
Yeah. We need to stop the podcast.
Yeah.
We're already at like an hour and a half.
Yeah. It is weird that we were having a better time talking about this.
Yeah, we had a much better time talking about the Golden fucking Globes.
Well, 2023, unironically, this is what I'll close on. 2023 was a genuinely fantastic movie year. And all of the things that we just mentioned, there was one superhero movie in all that. And it was Spider-Verse, which is not really of the same cloth as the other superhero movies.
Not at all.
And I am one of these people who has sort of poo-pooed the idea of superhero fatigue for a long time because I'm just like, they're not really all that samey, and they're not really like, and most people say they have superhero fatigue, and then they watch a good one, and then they're like, okay, I'm back on, and then that happens ad nauseum forever. And this is the first year I didn't see Ant-Man, I didn't see Blue Beetle, I didn't see Shazam, and I didn't see the Marvels. And I think when you get to the point where I'm kind of out, and we're going to do, the next thing we're doing is Echo from Marvel, and I'm not going to immediately come out of the gates swinging bad on that show, but it is sort of a bad sign when I'm out. I started watching Loki and stopped. And I liked season 1 of Loki, and I didn't dislike what I was watching for Loki. And I was just like...
You just got bummed.
I was just like, I don't know if this... And everybody's sort of in that same wagon, and nobody's really caring about it. But 2023 was like, don't worry, we got you. There's not that many good superhero movies. Here's a bunch of genuinely really good movies. I think we're just hitting the end of a trend era. And eventually we're going to hit another trend in a few years.
Well, the problem is we hit this stretch of really good movies this year, and then the writer's strike and the actor's strike happened that went on for so long. So 2024 is going to be a drought, and that might extend into 25 because there's just... Or, I'm sorry, 24 might not be a drought because they might be finishing things that, like, they might have, like, finished projects when the actors and everybody came back, but nothing new got started. So 25 might suck. 24 might suck as well. It might be 50-50.
I genuinely have a conspiracy theory that Wish was an AI-generated movie. I for real think that. You should watch Wish. No, don't watch Wish.
I'll look up like the fucking synopsis on Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wish genuinely felt like an AI-generated movie.
And I fear that we're going to get a lot of those. Like fucking every trailer I saw in the movie theaters recently, like The Beekeeper. Okay, a fucking college kid wrote this. Just put Jason Statham in it. Don't take it seriously. You've got a blockbuster. Argyle. That feels like a ripoff of something else that I've absolutely seen before, but I can't remember. Doesn't matter. It's not an original idea.
My opinion is it feels like a ripoff of a Matthew Vaughn movie, and it's Matthew Vaughn making it. So I think that
might be fine then. But like, it's not original. It's just something that we've seen before, and it's got a lot of big names in it, so you're gonna go see it. And then fucking this other weird movie with Sydney Sweeney in it, where she has to pretend to be in love with this guy, and it's like, okay, I feel like you just grabbed a couple young actors.
Have you
that
heard
aren't
about
in the
Night
guild.
Swim yet?
Yeah, I saw Night Swim. That feels like an AI-generated horror movie.
Wait, did you say you saw Night Swim?
I heard of it.
Okay,
I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer.
I thought you were like, I saw Night Swim. I was like, why did you see
I saw the trailer.
That's a thing that I would see, but not you.
I would go watch a bad horror movie.
Well, sure, but I feel like you need more prompting than I do to see a bad horror movie.
Yeah, my time's more valuable these days.
Yeah, and mine's not. Mine's pretty fucking... You're spending more time trying to like Starfield.
No, I'm spending time trying to like be a good husband.
And I'm single and alone and sad.
Yeah, so you can go to the movies.
I'm actually very happy. I'm doing very well. I don't want anybody to think that I'm...
You know what's funny? Speaking of being a good husband, we're going to go see The Beekeeper. Spoiler alert, we're doing that next after Echo because we have to watch Echo.
Somewhere in the middle. Well, no, Echo was all at once, right?
It's dropping all at once, I think. But anyway, so I'm going to go see The Beekeeper.
God, this is way more fun than Rebel Moon. God, I like talking about this so much more.
Oh my God, you're so right.
I'm so much happier right now.
Me too.
What the fuck?
I'm gonna go see The Beekeeper on Friday, and I texted my wife and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go see this movie with Jason Statham called The Beekeeper. It's probably gonna be really funny and not take itself seriously, even though it's like an action movie. How do you feel about it? You want to go see it?" And she was like, "Absolutely not, but please get me a popcorn on your way out."
That's the correct answer. Have you seen the take on Twitter? Have you seen the take on Twitter of somebody
I'm
said...
the fucking beekeeper, mate.
Somebody said, I forget who said this, but they were like, Jason Statham movies, I don't want them to have names anymore. I just want it to be Jason Statham 1, 2, 3, 4, and
That's a good one.
Beekeeper's like Jason Statham's 37 or something.
Honestly, though, yeah, the man found a niche and he makes a lot of money doing it. He's great. It's like Fast and Furious for people that just love like punchy movies.
Which he's also in.
Yeah, obviously.
Can I say one thing that's maybe controversial and not great?
This is the last thing, and then we're ending the podcast. We are at an hour 30.
So Vin Diesel's in some hot water, and apparently
He
he's
is?
getting some allegations from people on set with him, and it's looking like Vin Diesel may not be the greatest guy, which is kind of a thing that we knew, but never really had like a moment of him doing a thing. And this is all technically alleged, but he has had weird moments in the past.
Okay.
My not great kind of controversial bad take. And I know this is a bad take, and my take is not that this should happen. I think if he is a bad man, he should be punished for being a bad man. I do kind of wish it waited until after the next Fast and Furious movie, because I would like to just enjoy that and then be like, oh, he's a bad man. But also, if he's punished for bad stuff he did, then obviously that's the correct take.
I mean,
that's the correct thing.
Tom Cruise is legally tied to a couple different people that may or may not have threatened other people or possibly disappeared some people.
The thing is, I don't want Vin Diesel to be successful if he does suck and then the movie comes out.
Tom Cruise is very successful and definitely sucks.
Well,
it has been proven.
Well, sure. But I don't want him to have a Tom Cruise career if he ends up sucking. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's my bad take. That's my bad take that I understand is a bad take, but I
okay.
It anyway.
That is it for this episode of the TB&J podcast.
Rebel Moon sucks.
Rebel Moon fucking sucks. But, 2023 didn't.
Watch Poor Things. Really, watch Poor Things.
You won't be a poor thing watching poor things.
Just don't listen to that. Just watch Poor Things. Don't listen to the little stinger there. That's pretty bad. Unless you want to try again.
No.
Okay.
I'm good. We didn't even talk about the NFL. Week 18 ended, and now we're in the playoffs, and my Ravens have the #1 seed of the AFC. Let's fucking go. #Ravens flock, bitch.